Thought Bubble Audio.
Look, up in the sky.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy.
Welcome to Beer with Geeks with Tim and Frank.
Who are you?
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
Your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
Hi, Christopher. I'm Nero.
My name is Inigo Montoya.
You're a wizard, Harry.
A couple of guys with a couple of beers and a whole lot of pop culture nostalgia.
Make it so, number one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Beatles.
Named the dog Indiana.
Life finds a way.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now sit back and crack open a cold one, because it's time for Beer with Geeks.
It comes in paints.
Shaken, not stirred.
Great Scott!
I was way off. I knew it started with an S, though.
Hi, and welcome to Beer with Geeks, where two geeks geek out with beer. I'm Tim, and with me, as always, it's my man who watches other people watch stuff. It's Frank. How are you today?
I'm good. It's good to be watching you with you again.
It's good. I'm glad you're here. As a man, we're men who watch things. We're the Watchmen.
Yes.
We have watches on our wrists.
You do?
Yes. Do I have one right now? No, I took it off. So I am not a
charging.
watchman. But I am a watchman. I do like watches. Anyway, Frank, it's good to be here. What are you drinking today on Beer with Geeks?
I'm drinking something tried and true and simple. It's just a good old-fashioned Blue Moon. Blue Moon Belgian White. That's
a new can for Blue Moon. I like it. It's like that midnight blue. I like it.
Yeah, it's a nice look. Yes, it's a dark, distinguished kind of darker blue. You got the moon and the orange, half orange.
Very nice.
Sitting there. Yeah.
I am drinking a can of similar color.
You are. I actually was wondering if that was the same thing, but
it is not. I am drinking a Polychrome from the Proclamation Ale Company.
Oh, Proclamation. That sounds familiar.
Proclamation is from Warwick, Rhode Island. They're pretty close to me.
Yeah.
And so it is a Polychrome, which is it's a Berliner Weiss, but it is with blueberry and pineapple.
Blueberry and pineapple.
That's what I said.
That
so
sounds delicious.
We're just still in the tail end of summer, right? Even though it's actually a little chilly out for right now. I don't know what it's like for you, but like it's unseasonally cool for the beginning of September, where we are right now in recording. So I wasn't ready to throw. I can't throw myself into pumpkin just yet or into all the fall beers, but I'm holding on to that summer feel and quality. So anyway, Polychrome from the Proclamation Ale Company. The beer itself is a little bit more pineapple-y than blueberry.
Okay, and how do you feel about that?
It's fine. So the beer is good. Don't get me wrong. I actually like it quite a bit, but can't really taste the blueberry. Maybe as an aftertaste, as like a secondary layer. But I find that pineapple, kind of like coconut, is a dominant flavor. So, if something has one of those flavors in them, then that's pretty. Kind of like if you have a fruit bowl and there's fruit next to the pineapple, that fruit's going to taste like pineapple. Like, sorry, it loses all of its own flavor in favor of the pineapple.
Would you like this pineapple apple?
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. You're like, oh, there's some melon next to that pineapple, so I guess I'm just going to have 2 pieces of pineapple because that's what happens to the fruit.
You know, in a fruit salad, I'm grateful for that because not that there's anything wrong with melon, but it's the least interesting of the flavors in a fruit salad, I find. So if there's some melon touching the pineapple in a fruit salad, I'm kind of grateful for it. I'm like, oh, cool, 2 pieces of pineapple, great.
I'm glad you brought this up because I used to think exactly the same thing, and then I had fresh melon as opposed to melon from a pre-packaged cut fruit salad, and that thing's got loads of flavor. Like a really good one has great flavor, like cantaloupe leather quality flavor, but also fresh cantaloupe, not cantaloupe that's been prepackaged and put in the fridge. Once you put it in the fridge, it loses the flavor.
I mean, agreed. I've had fresh cantaloupe or honeydew or like.
I assume you're a man in your 30s. I hope at one point you had fresh cantaloupe in your life.
I'm still like,
not for you.
Nothing special.
Yeah,
not for me, but nothing special.
Fascinating. That's how I feel about watermelon.
Oh, interesting.
I don't think I'd miss it if I never had a piece of watermelon ever again.
I think I regard watermelon a little bit higher than some of the other melons, but generally I agree. Like I don't know. My dad and my daughter, it's like one of their favorite foods. Watermelon. Yeah. It's so funny. It skipped me, but my dad and my daughter both like love it. They'll eat it all day.
Nope.
I'm sort of like, it's fine, it's good. I enjoy. Oh, it's watermelon season. It's summer. Okay, cool. I'll have a piece. But like,
yep, that's how I feel about it. But if it isn't, then forget it.
Yeah,
but I like.
There have definitely been summers where I've just didn't have any watermelon and didn't notice.
Yep, that's probably. Yep, I have many years.
It has to have happened once or twice.
Yeah, especially when I was like single, living by myself. Like,
I
was definitely not buying a watermelon to eat. There's no way. Wasn't happening. Frank, we're way off where we normally are.
I think
I think fruit talk is important, Frank.
When we're talking about summer beers, absolutely, it's important.
Absolutely.
You got your blueberry and pineapple. I got my orange Valencia Peel beer.
There you go. We're very fruity today. And next time on Fruit Cup, we'll be discussing. I don't know, applesauce,
fruit salad. Yummy.
Frank, we both watched a little while ago now, so we'll see how well this goes. But we both watched the newest animated adaptation of Watchmen, based on the book, according to the opening credits of Watchmen, by Dave Gibbons and no one else.
Yeah. I believe Dave Gibbons was a consultant on the film. That may be why.
I do believe Alan Moore said he did. It was after, I want to say it was after League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. He said that he never wanted he didn't want his name attached to anything.
But it's on the Zack Snyder film,
media related. Might have been after that one. It was definitely. It was after some adaptation of his work. He was like, "No, never again.
So
you are not. You cannot put my name on any of these things.
Wow.
No, thank you." Which respect, I guess. It's. I can understand where you're like, it's not your work. It's an adaptation of your work. So like, you don't. But don't you want people to? I guess he knows that people are going to go and get it either way. The royalties still be coming. So, whatever. But anyway, we've had one Watchmen adaptation already, 2 if you count the motion comic, from many years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This animated feature was a 3D rendered animated movie. The animation, it took me a minute to get into it. But then I realized that it was basically doing a cell shading of Dave Gibbons' artwork as best it could, and then I was in it all the way.
Yes, same. It took me a minute to sort of wrap my mind. I was like, "Is this rotoscoped or what are they? What are they?" It was like a Scanner Darkly kind of.
Totally.
At first,
it reminded me of a better quality of the MTV Spider-Man show.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Which is all basically the same. Yeah.
Same vibe. Yeah, but then that clicked for me after a few minutes too, and they're like, oh, okay, it's the book, it's the art from the book, just with sort of a 3D pop to it, and then I was in.
Do you think that it served the movie altogether to like try to emulate the animation style, or do you wish that it stylized it in its own way to kind of make it different? Like, you're not really. If you want to read the book, you can read the book. You can look at the art style there. Or do you like that, or that it offered something like, or should it have offered something different?
I actually tend to. We've talked about this a bit before, but I kind of like things when they are a little closer to the source material, because I think that. I guess the way I look at it is like, if the source material is as great as it is, and in the case of Watchmen it is, then the less similar you are to the original thing. Aren't you sort of seeing a less good version of the thing? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep.
But on the other hand, of course, I understand the feeling. Like, well, you could have just read the book then. Like, don't you want something different added to it? And I guess my answer is,
It depends.
Yes, but it depends. There's some people who are going to watch this who were never going to read the book anyway.
True.
And so for them, they get an experience that's closer to the source material.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe an experience that makes them want to go and read the source material, and then experience it, as it was meant to be. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have anything against. I wouldn't have been against it if they did different animation style. I went into this not knowing what the animation style was going to look like. I didn't watch any trailers or anything, so I was a completely blank slate going in, and I was like, oh, cool, all right. Once I realized that it was basically Dave Gibbons, I was like, all right, I'm into like it being looking like the book came to life in a lot of ways. It literally did a little bit later, but yeah.
You pinged on something that I've never really thought of before. I want to go back to that. That the source material, if you're trying to adapt the source material, then you want it to emulate the source material as quickly as possible, as much as possible. And that doesn't necessarily, for comics, that doesn't necessarily just mean the story or even the general design work or color palette or whatever, but like what makes a comic is how the art and the story work in tandem together. Right?
100%.
Because you can read a great story and not like the art, and there can be some amazing artwork in a book that is trash.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And so if you're adapting a comic, it is to your benefit to try to get the essence of both of them together, because that's what made the story work. It wasn't just the story, it wasn't just the art, it was both of them. So to make both of them work together, I think that does work. That does work better.
Yeah. No, I agree. I completely agree. It is a visual medium, and so if you're going to translate it to another visual medium, probably some of the visuals should carry over to some. Maybe you can capture the feel of it in live action or whatever, but it should feel like the way the source material makes you feel to some degree, right?
Yeah, I never really thought about it in those terms before, but like I think that was one of my issues with the Long Halloween adaptation, where it just doesn't even remotely resemble Tim Sale's art,
right?
And so but like half the fun of the book is the art.
I so agree.
Yeah,
I so agree.
And so if you're it actually can in a lot of ways show you the holes in the quality of something when you're only basically adapting half of it, and you're not bringing the other half along for the ride. You're like, wow, I guess a lot of the appeal of this was the art and not the story,
exactly,
or vice versa. In some ways, it's like a lot of for some reason my Instagram feed is like filled with this is what happens when you change the music in a scene, part 157.
Oh yeah,
right,
yeah.
And whatever. But like some of those, like you can ping on like, well, it turns out it's really the music that's doing the heavy lifting in this movie.
Yeah.
And like nothing else. And basically any movie by John Williams, with John Williams
exactly.
score, that he's doing a big bulk of the work. Not that the rest of the movie isn't good, but Luke staring at a sunset without, the Force theme it just doesn't hit home the same way. Like it's the music that makes that moment.
It's just a kid looking at sand dunes.
Right.
Otherwise.
Right. And I mean, like you could talk about like his longing or his need to this or that or blah, 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 blah. But it's the music that elevates to the next level. And I think that the art is the same way. And that is to say, I really liked the animation in this movie. Once I
did too.
Figured out where it was going. Overall, did you like it, not like it, the movie?
I think this is the best adaptation of Watchmen I've ever seen, full stop.
It's definitely better than the motion comic.
Yeah,
for sure.
That was an easy bar to clear. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would agree. I think this is, as far as an adaptation goes, I do think that I did enjoy this a little bit more than Zack Snyder's movie. I think because a lot of Zack Snyder's movie is it kind of ramps up some of the stuff that is kind of on the back burner in the book, like even the action. You know what I mean? Action, blood, whatever. It's actually like pretty low in Watchmen in the book itself. And I know that Alan Moore did that like on purpose. Like it's kind of like not realistic superheroes, but it's like it wasn't really supposed to be about superhuman feats or whatever, whereas like Dr. Manhattan is really the only superhuman.
Yes.
So like
right.
everybody, so anything anybody else does is supposed to be like hallway Daredevil fight realistic as opposed to that. And Zack Snyder kind of ignored that in favor of everyone being slightly superhuman in how they moved and fought and did. And it looks very nice and it looks good, but I think it actually goes against what some of the point of the book was. And I feel like this movie adaptation, the animated adaptation, does a little bit better job at like zeroing in on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And it's hard to compare. Like I was obviously it comes to mind when you're watching when you're watching it. Like you're going to draw some comparisons, whether you try to or not. But really, it is so apples and oranges because it's a completely different take on it. Like Zack Snyder Zack Snyder was already Zack Snyder by the time that movie came out, right? So it's like it's not to the same degree, but it's like a Baz Luhrmann film. You know what you're in for, right? And like obviously it's not as surreal and everything, but like this director has a style, and so you know that more than likely he's going to translate whatever the source material is into his style. So you're like prepared for it, right?
Yep.
With 2009 Watchmen. But then this is something different where it's like, hey, the co-creator of it is a producer on it, and like all this, and like we're making an adaptation of the film. It's a completely different like brief for it. So like it's hard to compare the two things, even if your mind is sort of like, oh well, that's different than that. But like the logical part of your brain is also like, yeah, but they're so different. It's hard to really put them aside one another.
Absolutely agree. Is there something in this movie that you pinged and went, yeah, that was really good, like a performance or a way that like where the story ended up kind of like the beats went or anything like that? What'd you find that you liked the most about it?
I really liked the way that they used so Dr. Manhattan I felt like was the most, maybe even more than the HBO series. Like I felt more like a real person.
Yes.
To me. Than he did in that. Obviously it's a different version, but like he just felt like a very grounded, like real, like for the first time. It took what's in the book, which is pretty fantastical and atomic age type of stuff, right? And it still is those things, but it presented them in a way that felt like, oh yeah, that could happen.
Yeah.
I don't, I guess it was his performance. And
Michael's, I think it was Michael Severus. Yeah, pretty sure it was Michael Severus, who has a pretty decent comic book history behind him. He played Professor Pig on Gotham, actually. I saw Michael Severus on Broadway. He was in the revival of Sweeney Todd with Patti LuPone, where they all played their own instruments. Do you remember that one? Yeah,
I don't think I know about this one.
It was, and the whole cast was also the orchestra, like apart from like a piano and a drum kit or whatever.
Was this?
And so when they weren't on stage, mid 2007, 8, 9, somewhere in there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But they, I actually saw it with friends of ours. I saw it with Joe. I'm pretty sure I saw it with Joe and Kathy, if not just Kathy.
Nice.
But
shout out.
Hey Joe. Hey Kathy. But the like when they weren't performing their part on stage, if they weren't in the scene, they were playing the instruments.
That's so cool.
Which is really cool. But anyway, Michael Severus was Sweeney Todd.
Awesome.
Yeah, I watched his career with great interest.
I see.
Yeah. So it's cool to like see him kind of like loop back into this and be like, hey,
wow.
I saw you on Broadway. Yeah.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I thought he was fantastic. I also really liked the way for the first time, I cared even a little bit about Tales of the Black Freighter.
Me too. That I think was the biggest revelation for me, where because it edited it to like really tell you exactly what it was supposed to be about.
They hit us over the head with it, and I was finally like, oh, that's what it's about.
Yeah. Like, I knew it was a metaphor for the book in kind of the broadest sense, but, like, the actual, like, and then the sharks were coming into this and this. They, like, specifically showed me where the sharks were, what they were supposed to be doing, and, like, at this moment, and I needed that.
But I needed that frying pan to the head. I needed it. It was necessary for me.
And because the book doesn't split up the Black Freighter that way, you're supposed to kind of do that on your own. So, like, when he's talking about the sharks at a different point, like, you don't get to that moment until way later.
Yeah.
And so I much prefer I prefer to be hit over the head with it.
In this case, yes.
Yeah.
In this case, I needed it. Sorry, Alan, you're too smart for me in some cases. In most cases, he's a smart man. But anyway, it's I needed that, and so for the first time, I had real appreciation for that part of the story, whereas it, up until now has felt like it's okay. Can we get back to the story though?
I've always felt that way about the Black Freighter. Always.
Yeah.
I'm always like, yes, it's kind of like the Seagull and the Albatross, and it's kind of like Robinson Crusoe. Like, I get it. Okay, I get it. But I did feel finally that, like, yes, this was good. I understand why it's there. I mean, I conceptually understood why it was there, but, like, I really clicked with it this time, and I appreciated it being in the story, you know. So, yeah. When you said, like, I finally clicked with something apart from Black Freighter, I thought you were going to say Sally Jupiter. Because,
interesting.
Because in terms of, I mean, in the book is fine, but in terms of adaptation, I thought that Katie Sackhoff was, like, leagues above
so good.
The Malin Ackerman, I think it was. Like, I just feel like there was a depth to her performance that I felt Sally was always kind of missing. It's Sally, right? Yeah. Not Jan? No. That's not Jan. Jupiter.
Well, I haven't used my one lookup, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. But Katie Sackhoff, was great. I totally agree. Like, she brought a depth that I don't know
Lori,
that I've really...
not Sally.
Lori, okay.
Not Sally. Sally's her mom, I think.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah, Sally's her mom.
I was not confident enough to say it. Yeah. But yeah, so Lori always felt like an avatar of a but not like a real person. Even Malin Ackerman, who I thought was quite good. I think it has more to do with how she was written than anything. But I think Katie Sackhoff brought a whole layer of believability to that character too that I hadn't really seen before.
Yeah, I really appreciated that performance. I truthfully, I appreciated how the book didn't, the movie didn't kind of steer away from the more unsavory bits of Watchmen. Like, instead, you know,
right. Which would be easy to do.
Absolutely.
Well, maybe not easy.
You can cut stuff, and
but like it would be the easy choice to make to cut some of those things.
Yeah, no, it is unabashedly an adaptation of the story, and I don't know. We've talked about Watchmen enough, I think, together that I don't have anything new or profound to say about Watchmen, except that I appreciate, you know, the complexity of the story and what they were trying to do. The spoilers for Watchmen, I guess, Elizabeth, do you feel that the villain is a little teleplayed?
A bit. Yeah, I mean, it's they're not being super subtle. But then again, I do have to wonder, what are the things that I'm picking up on because I know, and what are the things that I might look past if I didn't know?
That's a really good question, because, like, when you know that Vader is Luke's father, you know, or whatever, that conversation with the Emperor is pretty easy to follow.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
the subtext of it, you know, but you're right. But for this, like, I don't know, like, I'm reading the emotion they want me to read if I know the story.
Exactly.
But if I don't know it,
the information you know colors the way you see different clues, so to speak. Yeah.
That's why I would
So
really.
I kind of feel like we're at the halfway point of the story, more or less, and
not really. There's actually they kind of only got through I don't know, maybe 2/5 of the story. I'd say.
Really, I mean, so I know that the Mars stuff is I think 4.
Mars
I think that's
is book 4.
I think that number sticks out of my mind for some reason. But
it is. They did chapters 1 through 4, and
okay, there it is. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's 12.
We both have our copies, our hard copies out in front of us. Yeah, so there's the Mars, him on Mars. Yeah, that's the end of chapter 4. So maybe they got a little bit into 5. No,
nope.
It looks like they didn't.
No, I don't
so,
think.
So, yeah.
Yes, they did. They did some things.
Okay.
That were in 5. They rearranged some things, like the Moloch stuff is in 5. It kind of went backwards, I think, and the attack on Fight is also in 5.
Oh yeah, okay.
The Shark Black Freighter thing is in 5. Okay.
Okay, so they did quite a bit get quite a bit into 5 then, I guess.
Okay, yeah, they did 1 through 5, not 1 through 4. Looking at it,
and it's 12, right?
It's 12. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all right. So not quite the halfway point. But I feel like that they left it in a good place. If you got to cut it in half, that was a pretty decent place to
I agree. Mm-hmm.
And I can conceive of reading it. I'm sorry, watching this, not having read it. I could see a reasonable person not knowing who the villain really is. I think that there were clues there, and a lot of people would know. I think most people might know, but I could see still a reasonable person maybe not piecing it together yet.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes I want to watch these things with somebody who just doesn't know the story, just to kind of. No, I don't even care if you like it or not. I just need to ping whether I need a control group.
Yeah, exactly. So what are you getting from this?
Are you getting what you're supposed to be getting from this?
Right.
Or, I felt that way when I watched the Batman, and spoilers for the Batman, I know that Falcone is Selina's dad going into the movie, so I'm watching him this is obvious to everybody, right? Or is it? Yeah,
I feel like they did a pretty decent job with that one.
Yeah, that's just that I just have.
But it's the same kind of thing.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, but I just it's interesting. And we had talked about a couple weeks ago about some of the DC, off topic a little bit, but we had talked a little bit about some of the DC adaptations and which ones were good and which ones we liked and which ones we didn't. And I just it's funny how I think I had said I'm of two minds on adaptations, where if it's good, then I like when it's the source material, but if not, I don't care if you change things. But some books don't need to be changed.
I think that's it.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. And Watchmen isn't really a book that needs to be changed. The only big change that I think that I actually agree with from the Snyder film is that the villain makes it that one of the characters is responsible for the I've never read Watchmen. I'm trying to do this without spoilers, but is responsible for the big atrocity at the end, as opposed to a random outsourced thing.
Sure. Yes. They try to pin it on.
Right. I kind of like that one more. That one makes more sense to me as far as the story is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But but I'm curious what they'll do here, because in some ways I feel like some of the acting choices mirrored the 2009 version. Rorschach sounds gruff.
Yes.
Dr. Manhattan sounds distantly removed. They didn't and none of the performances to me felt like they were doing anything new or unique or different from what I had seen already, apart from maybe adding a good performance, to it. But there are good performances in the live action movie too. There's some great performances in there.
For sure.
So I wasn't upset that Michael Ceravis's Dr. Manhattan was in the same trajectory as Billy Crudup's Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah,
because to me that was a great performance. It's what worked for the story and the character and whatever. And so I don't know. I really liked it. I hope this bodes well for the rest of DC animation. That's kind of what I because I think this was really the first one of the new, like
the new regime.
Yeah, it used the new logo, the new old logo.
Yep. Yeah, the new old logo. Yeah, that was the day it was announced, right? Was when that dropped?
Really?
Or was it? No, maybe it was Batman. Maybe it was when the Batman series dropped.
Maybe
one of the recent animated things. The same day they announced that the logo change was when
the logo change they
dropped.
announced at Comic-Con, I think.
That
So
sounds
it
right.
was so Watchmen did not drop then, but Batman dropped almost immediately after it. Batman dropped.
So
August
that must
1st.
have been it then. That must have been it then.
Okay. Yeah. But anyway, so I hope that bodes well for the rest of the animation. So, because I really liked it. Somebody had asked me if they think like this was a choice to make this because it's eventually leading to Doomsday, Watchmen Doomsday, like which is the Watchmen characters and DC characters together.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe. Probably
Maybe.
not. But I don't know. I don't know.
I don't think anybody needs that.
No, I really don't need that. Like, it's okay. Watchmen can just be Watchmen. It's okay.
Like, let it be.
Just
honestly,
it can be its own
thing.
thing.
Let it be Watchmen.
Let it just be its thing. It's okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't have to do anything. So,
yeah.
But anyway, Frank, that's our talk on Watchmen. Where can the people find us?
You can head on over to beerwithgeeks.com and see the other times we've talked about Watchmen as a property. You can search the site, and beerwithgeeks.com is a great place to search geeky topics and see what we've talked about. Because we've done over 500 of them, so there's plenty to depths to plumb. While you're there, you can click on the subscribe button, and you can see all the places that you can follow the podcast and subscribe to it and get new episodes all the time. You can also hit the donate button, and that'll take you straight to patreon.com/thoughtbubbleaudio, and you can head there and throw a couple bucks our way to help us pay for making the show.
Very good. A couple bucks is a couple bucks, right?
That's right.
Anyway, Frank, always good to talk to you. So until next time, cheers.
Cheers.